Classic Horror Story is a new film, a horror film that's been released on Netflix for quite some time, and this film is an Italian film. And I gotta tell you that Netflix is doing a good job of releasing some great content. Gunpowder Milkshake, Major Grand Plague Doctor, Trilogy of Fear Street. We have this movie, and this is just a great time to be alive if you're a Netflix fan. So in Classic Horror Story, it's basically this gruesome, suspenseful film that follows these strangers traveling in southern Italy, and they become stranded in the woods, and then they must fight desperately to get out alive. And we have the movie A Classic Horror Story. I love horror movies. I love talking about horror movies. I just like going in and see how well it's directed, just to scare me or give me some kind of reason to care for the characters, to get me understanding of the world that we're going into. You follow these characters, these 5 characters, and they're going on a vacation, and then while they're driving onto the road, they see a dead carcass, a goat, in the middle of the road, and they veer off the road and they crash into a tree. And after the characters get a sense of themselves, they realize they have crashed in the middle of nowhere, and the road that they were traveling on has vanished. This weird shaped house appeared out of nowhere, like in a weird time of frame, like it appeared out of nowhere, like it wasn't there the other day, but the next day is there, and then the next day the house is right next to the van. So basically this house can move by itself. Basically, you have these characters are in this cult situation, this supernatural cult, and you're following these characters trying to survive the night. And there's some very intense, gruesome, hardcore moments in this movie that was spine-chilling throughout. And there were some elements in this movie that had some comparisons to your everyday traditional horror film. Like, it has some comparisons to Midsummer. It has some comparisons like The Cabin in the Woods. And it has a little bit of the vibe of Hereditary, and just how this film was directed. Like, this film was directed beautifully, the way it was touched. I feel like the director was touching himself while he was directing the movie. I was definitely touching myself throughout the cinematography. This movie was beautifully shot. The way it was edited, how each scene transitions into the next, just intensifies the scene, not on a visual standpoint, but just from a character standpoint, because it just creates the levels. You follow these characters and they're experiencing some gruesome moments, and the film intensifies itself while you're going through the gruesome moment. Like I said before, this film has a similarity to like Midsummer, when this character is surrounded by other people and they're all like mocking her in a sense. I found myself not much compelled to the film as much as I wanted to on an emotional level, but I get to that part. This film kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because the way this film was presenting itself, the film was trying to present, the film was trying to present itself from a non-linear aspect, because I couldn't really follow the characters as much as I wanted to, or how the film was trying to have you follow the characters, but it's just kind of hard to follow the characters because there wasn't much development for these characters. And then you seeing them experience these gruesome moments, yeah, it's very intense and all. But then when the third act happened, that's where there was a twist I didn't see coming, but I was sort of expecting or suspected to see. But then there was a twist within a twist.
What a twist!
It just left me dumbfounded. The execution on that just leads into some of the flaws in the film, like leading on to like that third act, like this huge reveal revolving around that second twist. I feel like the execution revolving around that just wasn't there. It just didn't really resonate for me. This film is basically relying heavily on build-up, and I feel like the build-up doesn't really pay off for the sense, because while you're watching this movie, you're following these characters, but yet you don't really feel. I feel like it's one of the questionable parts. Like, if you have no moments, if you don't really know who the characters are, if you don't remember who the characters' names are, then they basically feel like disposable characters. So why should you really care if the characters are going through gruesome moments? And it just felt more like you just know these characters are going to die, so the film is just going to give you what kind of special way or what kind of stylistic way these characters are going to die. The whole concept revolving around this cult, there wasn't much development on this cult. Like, we don't really know if it's a satanic cult, or if it's just a regular cult, or just a cult that's fascinated with goats. We just don't know what the cult is. Other conflicting thing with the movie, like when the film became self-aware, that was when the film had some opportunities to like at least deliver the execution. But when the film became self-aware, that's where the film would just continue to go down that spiral where the film was self-aware, but yet they were still doing the same stuff that they were doing. Then when they got to the second twist, this execution leading on to when the film became self-aware, and the execution of the second twist just couldn't coexist. This film feels like a ripoff of other films. There are basic tropes, basic everyday modern horror films such as Hereditary. So other than that, the classic horror story is just a decent movie. Has your everyday horror tropes. It was directed beautifully, has some good performances, but there wasn't much character development. There wasn't much development on this cult film. Like I said, the film was self-aware, and that was one of the positives of the movie, but the execution just doesn't land with me. But I have to give the classic horror story a Michael Keaton Batman. This is a good movie that I enjoy, and hopefully you enjoy too. So that's my review of a classic horror story. What are your thoughts on a classic horror story? Comment below and let's talk about it, and I'll see you guys in my next review. And if you like everything you see and you agree, subscribe to my channel and join me in the Batman family. I have more Batman-tastic reviews in the way. You have been warned. Till then, holy mackerel.